Hey all, this is going to be a much shorter, much more casual, and less editing intensive video than my usual output. The reason why this is because I have two videos, each nearing an hour long each, that I am working on, both shooting for a December release date. So as such, I want to put my energy and focus into editing those videos instead. That said, I also want to make this video since I feel so strongly about the topic, so this is a compromise to make sure I can have my relevant cake and eat it too before it goes stale. So, Absolute Batman. I'm not gonna lie, when I first found out about the Absolute line of comics, and I saw all three lined up with each other, I had a clear favorite and a clear least favorite. Absolute Wonder Woman looks absolutely amazing. Absolute Superman sounds like it could make for some really compelling drama, and Absolute Batman looked kinda dumb. For clarity, when I say looked kinda dumb, I mean it did not look good visually, in my opinion. I saw this beefy man mountain calling himself Batman, saw what is honestly my least favorite Batman logo to date, and even though the premise of a Bruce Wayne who grew up poor sounded kinda interesting, I didn't have too much stock in Absolute Batman. On first impressions alone, I completely wrote him off. Then, I did something that drastically changed my mind. I read the damn thing. And when reading it, I maintain that I still do not like the design of the logo. But I have completely 180'd on every single other criticism. Starting with the visuals, the reason why I don't like the logo isn't necessarily because it's beefy, but rather because it kinda just looks like a slab in my opinion. It has tiny points that barely do anything to distinguish this as a Batman logo. If it were more rounded and the points were more pronounced, I honestly think it would look better while also fitting the weapon it turns into. Aside from that though, the rest of the comic looks great. The environments are nice, the character designs are unique, and the rest of Batman's suit in execution looks fantastic. Additionally, the world of this comic, despite being pretty similar to what Gotham is usually depicted as, is still the right blend of familiar and new. While Gotham as a city hasn't undergone many changes, the characters in Gotham have. Alfred, no longer caring for Bruce since he isn't a butler, is now this grizzled gun-toting mercenary, while still maintaining his usual demeanor and attitude. Since Bruce grew up on the streets, he now has a connection to a lot of his old rogues gallery as friends rather than as enemies. And finally, Bruce himself. The thing that surprised me the most is how much being a civil engineer adds to his character. He has access to rooftops and high-end buildings, not because he bought them, but because he carries over his access from his construction jobs. He's on the ground repairing Gotham, even fixing the collateral damage of his missions. He even presumably gets the materials for his suit from his job. Him being an engineer by day gives so much texture to his skills that it's honestly amazing. As for him as Batman, while he is still non-lethal in everything he does, he is less afraid to get brutal. With normal Batman, while breaking bones, head trauma, and threats of dropping criminals off buildings is definitely violent, it has nothing on Absolute Batman using his stupid slab of a logo as a battle axe and chopping a criminal's hand off in the first issue. Overall, this version of Batman has already cemented himself with a completely unique identity, and the changes that were made pay off tremendously. Everything about Absolute Batman as a character and as a comic has so far impressed me, and I cannot wait to see more. And that's the main thing that made me want to make this video. I completely wrote off Absolute Batman, and now that I've actually tried it, I want to see more. I, like many others, saw the designs for Absolute Batman, and because of them, were put off from even touching this comic, and I think that is a detriment. While sure, the design of the character is important, I quite literally judged a book by its cover, and if I wasn't curious enough, I would be missing out on what is already a great comic. And I encourage you, the viewer, not to indulge in that same type of behavior. Be curious, try new things. This year alone has given me some spectacular new shows and movies that I was previously apathetic towards, and time again I am proven wrong. There is great stuff coming out nowadays, in terms of movies, games, shows, and yes, even comics. While this comic initially seemed to be out of my perception of what Batman is and should be, It turned out to be a great first impression on this new take of Batman, and I encourage everyone watching this to check it out for yourself.